guys, it's Gecko, and today I'm filming my books I already own that I want to read in 2020 video, inspired by Books and Lala, Haley and Bookland and everyone. So these are all books that I already own that I want to read next year. Okay, and book one is Fire by Kristen Cashore. This is book 2 in the Graceling Companion trilogy, I believe. I don't think they're like I think they're set in the same world, but they don't necessarily follow the same characters. I could be wrong though. I read the first one, absolutely loved it, and now I want to read the second one. So I get that. I really want to get to all of these, but specifically that one because it was amazing. Now, this one I should easily be able to read. This is 2 short stories, so novella bind up, of Queens of Fenburn by Kendara Blake. Now, I read 3 Dark Crowns and one Dark Throne. It's over there. Not last. I think I read them one in 2017 and one in 2018. I'm not entirely sure. And 5 Dark Fates has just come out, and I haven't read 2 Dark Reigns. But I know these novellas come in between 1 Dark Throne and 2 Dark Reigns, so I wanted to read this. 2 Dark Reigns is in the list as well, but it's kind of under other books. So we'll get to that in a minute. Or 30, considering how I waffle. But yes, these are the Young Queens and the Oracle Queen. Yeah, although on this one it says 3 Dark Sisters, 1 Cursed Oracle, so I'm guessing they're not the titles. Okay. Anyway, this is, I think, a backstory. Loki, I am filming! Sorry, my cat's meowing. The next book is The Babysitters Coven by Kate Williams. Yeah, Kate Williams. It's described as, I think, the Babysitters Club meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I've never read the Babysitters Club. Never really been something I've been interested in. But I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so this looks really good. And I read this year Undead Girl Gang, and this sort of gives me the same vibes. And the cover's awesome, so I can't wait to get to it. I read the first chapter earlier this year and was completely sold on it, but unfortunately someone else had requested it at the library, so I was like, I'll just buy it and I'll get to it at some point. Hi Loki, he's now behind me. Next book I want to get to is Forgotten by PC Cast and Kristen Cast, which is the 3rd House of Night Otherworld novel. I really wanted to get to it this year, and I'm kind of sad that I didn't. I'm really kind of sad, because I started doing a reread of the series, the original House of Night series, and I'm still loving it. But the first 2 books in the Otherworld series were absolutely incredible, and this one, I listened to the first chapter on audiobook because they had it, and I was like, oh, this is amazing, and never actually picked it up. So now I have both the physical copy and the audio copy. There is no excuse, I will read this. And hopefully it'll be continued to be one of the greatest things I've ever read, as every book in the series has been one of my favourites at some point or another. Next I want to read The Beautiful by Renee Ardier. All 3 of the series are actually on this list because I'm terrible at reading the books that I don't get around to reading. But this one is the Fairyly exclusive from the October box. It's got the character art underneath and the red pink edges, and it's signed. And this is about vampires in New Orleans, as they say, in 1872. And it's sort of like this forbidden love, Romeo and Juliet-esque sort of dangerous adventure thing, and it sounds really cool, and the cover is just stunning. So I'm really hoping it's as beautiful in the book as outside the book, because they do such good work with covers these days. They're all insanely good. And I'm drinking from my Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes mug, which is also on the list because I'm ready. Excuse me one moment, McGonagall wants to come out of my room. She's just being difficult. I apologise for that. But yes, all my other bookish mugs are waiting to be washed up. So this is the only one that I had that wasn't already used. And it's very pretty. It says, "You must continue to believe with all your heart. Sometimes belief is all it takes to make something real." And I'm really looking forward to seeing that in a book. Seeing how it fits in. Very exciting. Next book on my list is Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye. I haven't read anything by Evelyn Skye, but this, was the January Fairy book, I'm pretty sure. As you can tell, I'm really good at keeping up with new releases. This came out in January last year. Well, it will be last year tomorrow, but yeah. It kind of comes across like Japanese inspired ninja school and friendship. And that just sounds really cool. The Kingdom of Kichonan fantasy map. I love maps in fantasy books. They just make me so happy. Anyway, moving on to Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rush. This is a fantasy, I think. Looks fantasy. Yeah, fantasy that the kingdoms are based on the seasons, which sounds really cool. So hopefully I'll get to that soon. I want to get to all of these books super quickly, but there's a load of them, so I don't know how quickly I will get to them. Now, the next two are books that I've had since I started watching BookTube. I sort of saw them and was like, oh, these look cool. I, give them a go. And I haven't. And I've been watching BookTube since 2016, I think. How long has this book been out? Was this a new release? Oh no, this came out in 2014. This is Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, which is a fantasy about a girl who, on her 19th birthday, is brought back to the town she was born in to be queen. Sounds interesting. The thing is, I don't know much about these books because I haven't read them, and I don't like to know anything going into them. I like to be surprised by everything and just be amazed by all the incredible things. Next book, Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. Hi Loki. Meow to you too. Okay, and this is about three kingdoms battling for power, where magic has been forgotten and peace has reigned for centuries. Unrest is simmering. This sounds really cool. This looks like Ooh. It's called Mythica. Interesting map. It's got a cast of characters, which is always helpful. I do find myself getting quite confused when there's a lot of characters, so being able to go to the front or the back and have a list of who's who, a dramatis personae, if you will, and I will, even if you don't. So I love that kind of thing. This next book is the third and final book in a trilogy. I read the first two and really, really loved it. And the ending of the second book left me quite concerned for a certain character's well-being. And the things that happen, you know you can't trust what people are saying. So it's very much a case of, are you lying to me, sort of thing. The whole thing is an unreliable narration. Everyone's lying and you don't know what's going on. And I really liked it. The third book is called, well, it's the Mara Dyer trilogy, and the third book is called The Retribution of Mara Dyer by Mara Hodkin. I don't know why I put this off for so long, because I genuinely do love the other two, and I'm really interested in the Noah Shaw trilogy, which is, I think the first one's already out. I'm not sure if the second one is, but I'm really interested because I love Noah. He's my favourite character. The fact that he's got his own trilogy makes me very happy. So once I read this one, I can then start getting the others, and it'll be great. Next we have Two Dark Reigns by Kendara Blake, which is the one this one comes before. I also have Five Dark Fates, but I didn't put it on the list because I've got so many books here. But in an ideal world, I will complete the Three Dark Crowns series and have a beautiful map to look at again, because the map in these series is so stunning. Now, I've had a lot of fantasy and maybe one contemporary-ishy kind of, I don't know where to put the Mara Dyer trilogy, but this is a contemporary, and I believe it's adult rather than YA, but everyone read it in 2018 and loved it, so I'm a bit, thanks Loki, I'm a bit late to the party as I always am. And this is Sadie by Courtney Summers. Now this is a book with, get down, be civilised, you don't do that. If you look out the window, you can look down on the actual windowsill, you're not climbing up the window. Sorry. No. So this is follows two main characters, one of whom is a radio personality putting together a podcast, kind of podcast of Sadie, who is trying to find the person responsible for killing her sister. And it's, yeah. Apparently it's a breathless thriller about the lengths we go to protect the ones we love and the price we pay when we can't. It will haunt you long after you reach the final page. I'm really interested because it's kind of set out like interview, but then prose. It's a very interesting format. I did try the audiobook, but I think it's one I'm going to have to physically listen to. Physically read, or physically read and listen to at the same time so I can keep up with it. I don't know, but I've got both so I can mix and match. Moving on, another author we've already had. Don't think there is any more. There are multiple authors, but I don't think... Ah, yes, we've got the other Renee Adier, as I've said. Anyway, this next book is The Crowns Game by Evelyn Skye. This is a magical version of Russia, I believe. And there's an ancient jewel of magical skill called the Crowns Game, where these two teenagers fight to the death in magical Russia, which sounds really, really good. and I'm kind of annoyed at myself that I haven't read it before because it just sounds amazing. I'm going to leave that one until after because this is a sequel to a sequel. So this is next. That's not. Yeah, you need to know about that. Anyway, next book on the list is The Diviners by Libba Bray. Everyone that I've seen talk about this book absolutely adored it. Set in the 1920s in New York, which is interesting if I'll be reading it this coming year, because it's set in the 20s and it will be the 20s again. So apparently this is spooky, magical, murder mystery, historical fiction with a bit of historical fiction fantasy, I guess. And it just sounds so great, and I've tried to read it before but haven't really got far with it. So I'm hoping with the audiobook I'll get through it, or maybe I just need to sit down and dedicate time to reading it. But all I know is I really want to read it, and the last book in the series comes out next year, so it'll be amazing, and I can get it done, and I can read the rest of the series, and I can join in the hype. That'll be wonderful. Right, I'm just shifting books around because, as per usual, I have more books than space. And that's my pen that just fell. Is that my pen? Yep, that was my pen. Anyway, moving on. We have Stranger the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I don't know anything about this, except it's about a dreamer called Strange. And he lives in a city. Oh, he's been obsessed with the city called Weep, and finding it, and everything is dreamlike and magical, and I'm really, really looking forward to finally reading it because I've been wanting to read it for so long. I need to stop putting it off. Like all of the books on this list, I need to stop putting them off. I need to sit down and I need to read them. But there's a lot. Next book on the list is The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater, which is the second book in the Raven Cycle quartet. Which I read a couple of years ago. Didn't really understand it, but that's because the books were written in English, not American English, and I kind of thought they were actually set in Wales because a lot of it wasn't really clear. So listen to the audiobook where it's completely American English, no mobile phones, just cell phones and things like that. All great stuff. Making sure there's no cats around because they're annoying. You are annoying. Yeah, indeed, you are annoying. You are annoying. You are annoying. Anyway, this is about a group of boys called the Raven Boys and a girl called Blue, and their search for Owain Glendower, a Welsh. Well, they call him a Welsh king, but pretty sure he was a prince. A self-declared prince from what I remember from history. But anyway, he is apparently sleeping, and whoever can wake him up, or they believe he's sleeping, and whoever finds him and wakes him up gets granted a royal favour. So they're trying to find him. And it's a really interesting concept. And as I re-listened to the audiobook last year in stages, I didn't actually mark that I'd read it because I sort of skipped through it because I'd already read. Yeah, I realised that I don't just love Adam and Noah, I love Ronan too. Ronan, I am being perfectly fucking Civil Lynch, as I recall him, because he's very nice. Very nice. Anyway, moving on to the first of 4 books by this author, but they're all kind of, 3 of them are over here, so we'll do these 2 and then we'll get to those 2. Anyway, this is A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab, which is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, which I read not this year, the year before, and thoroughly loved it. I love everything about it. I thought it was incredible. There was so much going on, and love Cal, love the coat, love everything about it. So I need to read the next book, and I'm hoping it's just as good as the other one. I'm sure it is, because Victoria Schwab is a phenomenal writer. Are you making my book smell like you, Loki? Anyway, next 2 books, and you'll see why I chose to do this one after this one, or with this one. I would like to read Thunderhead and The Toll by Neil Schusterman. You are going to knock all my books over, you annoying cat. Anyway, so these are books 2 and 3 of the Arc of the Scythe trilogy, which I read Scythe in April and adored it. So I picked up Thunderhead, and then I picked up The Toll when it came out in November. Actually, I picked this up in December, but it's like enormous leap from this to this. This is huge. But this is a dystopian world where no one dies, there's no disease, everyone just lives, and you can reset your ages. But to keep the population down, there has to be these people called scythes, whose job is to glean people, and it's how they do it. And everyone's got their own system, and these 2 kids become apprentice scythes, and you're only supposed to pick one, and it's this whole thing, and this whole competition between them, and it's so good. It's so good, and I really need to finish this trilogy. I'll be really sad to leave these characters, because it's just such an important book to me when I was reading Scythe that I just couldn't put it down. I'm so happy it was the bookmarked pick of the month, because I read it so I could watch their live show. So good. And they all loved it too, which is just amazing. So yeah. Next on my list is the second of the Victoria Schwab books, but Loki. This is City of Ghosts, which is her middle grade, and it's set in Edinburgh, in Scotland, and it's got a map of Edinburgh. I don't know if Edinburgh is if that is accurate. I've never been. The little kitty, I love it. It's beautiful. It even looks like a V.E. Schwab book on my shelf. This is the start of my the other Victoria Schwab book is here as well, so these kind of go there. And I'm just looking at that one, and I'm like, these fit. These all look like they're part of the same series, and I love the way that they've done the design, even though it's in a different section of the bookshop. You can tell, because all her books have a very specific colour palette, and it is amazing. Next is This Savage Small. This is the Monster Severity duet. It's all about, yes, the second one's called Our Dark Duet. That's why I said that, annoyingly. But yes, this is about a girl who wants to be a monster and a monster who wants to be a boy. And it's kind of a story about that, as far as I know. But I've heard great things. The American cover's better, but I can't wait to dive into that. And the last Victoria Schwab book, but not the last book on this list, is Vengeful, which was the long-awaited sequel to Vicious, which is 700 times the size of Vicious, which is a little bit bigger than this. But it finally came out, and I think I've been put off because of the size, but I really need to just devote an afternoon or an evening to just sitting and reading this, because Vicious was so good. It's about these 2 friends turned enemies who find the secret to unlocking superpowers is by controlling their own death and resurrection. And it's about what happens after they did that. One of them's getting out of prison after spending 10 years inside for murder, and the other one's being on a 10-year killing spree, killing every extraordinary person he can find. So that's kind of that. And this one, from what Victoria Schwab herself has said, is following 2 women 5 years later, and they're gaining control and they are trying to remove that control, whereas the guys are losing that control and trying to keep hold of it, which sounds very interesting. Next on my list is When the Moon Was Ours by Anna-Marie McLemore. As far as I know, this has trans rep, which is very important to me. Sorry, I just read the little dedication on the inside, and wow. But yes, this is trans rep. Anna-Marie McLemore is non-binary. So, yeah, and I really like what Anna-Marie posts on her pronouns are she, they, on her Twitter all the time. I think Anna-Marie is wonderful, and I've been wanting to read one of the books written by them for a while, and this received the Stonewall honour. So this is, yeah, I'm sure it'll make me very emotional when I read it. Moving on to another book that I think is going to make me very emotional, 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read Daisy Jones and the Six this year when it came out, around the time the Bookmark Club did it for their book of the month, their first one in March. And I loved Daisy Jones and the Six. And if you watch my best books of the year, you'll see how much I loved it. But I haven't read this one yet, and I think I genuinely will love it. It's Hollywood glamour era, I love that. I have a book somewhere that's just photos of people on the film sets, things like that. I absolutely love Cary Grant, absolutely love Audrey Hepburn. She's very Marilyn Monroe-esque, love that. And I think it's a very beautiful era of film. Not so much for marginalised people, but the films were beautiful, and this woman has to hide who she is because she's part, can't remember where she's from, but she's part Hispanic and she's bisexual. So she has 7 husbands, and it's her telling her story to someone, and I think that'd be really interesting because I loved Daisy Jones and the Six so much. I'm really hoping I love this one. Next on my list is The Roughen the Door by Renee Ahdieh. Very beautiful cover. I'm not entirely sure what this is about. I usually have a vague idea. I think it's something to do with Arabian Nights or something. I'm very unsure. Beautiful map Quarsan. But yeah, it looks, the lady has she has the earrings and the jewel on her head, and I think that's a Hindu thing. I'm not entirely sure, but it does sound really good. And there's a quote on the back from the book, and it says, "So you would have me throw Shazi to the wolves? Shazi, honestly, I pity the wolves." I can't wait to read that. That's just, from that quote alone, it makes me want to read the book more. The next book on my list is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and this is about 2 different colours of blood. Red's a commoners ruled by a silver elite, but she's Red Queen, which means she's a commoner. Okay. Reds against silvers, prince against prince, and mare against her own heart. Power is a dangerous game. Use this on cover. It's like, ooh, pretty, very pretty. I think I'm part magpie. The Kingdom of Nauta and the surrounding lands. I really just need to sit down and read these books. That's what I need to do. Next book on my list is definitely Hindu. This is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. I think that's how you say her name. This was the first book in the Rick Riordan Presents series, which is where Rick promotes books written by people. I think they're all about mythology that's underrepresented. This is in middle grade, so this will be an interesting read. And this follows a Hindu myth, which I've never read before. This is apparently about a girl who lies and she has to tell the truth, and I think it's got, as myths, they tend to have really good messages, so I'm really hoping this has a great message too. Loki? Can you be quiet for 5 minutes? No, obviously not. Anyway, moving on to the next book on my list, Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. I'm not entirely sure what this is about, except it's about a girl who watches her mother die, and then when she's older has to come back and rule. And this is a trilogy. I don't know if the third one's out yet. This one came out. No, so the last one probably will come out next year, this year, whatever. But what really intrigues me about this is that it's so cool. Like, I've never seen that before. Or if I have, like, it's been very rare that I don't remember it. I'm just honestly getting more enjoyment out of just opening the book. Like, fire, no fire. Fire, more fire. Anyway, moving on to another book. This is a contemporary. Oh yes, this is the one that's told backwards. So, that'll be fun. Genuine Fraud by Enoch Lockhart, the author of We Were Liars, which was one of my favourite books of 2017. Genuinely love that book. And this is about a girl. Oh, it's a thriller. It's about a girl who refuses to be the person she was. So you see her who she is, but then you have to work backwards to get to who she was. And the chapters, this is chapter 16. We'll go forward a few pages. That's chapter 14. So it goes backwards. And I'm really interested to see how this works as a novel. Because I know We Were Liars was unreliable, you didn't know what was going on, a lot was hidden from you. But this one seems you're told everything and you have to work backwards for it. Which is it's an interesting concept. Not sure if I'll like it. It's intriguing, so I want to read it. And also this is very short. This is, how many pages is this book? This is chapter 19. What? Chapter 2, chapter 1, chapter 19. There's a logic there. But anyway, there are 262 pages in this book. I could probably read this and another book in the same day. This is so small. But I will read this. I have to. I need to know. I need to know all of this stuff. Next on my list is the third book of the Shadow and Bone trilogy of the Chavez, Aurora Rising by Lee Bardugo. I've read Six of Crows duology. I love it so much, hence why I never take this hat off. and I've also read the first 2 of the series. You can see them sort of shining over there. They're very shiny books. But the reason I didn't get to it, and I know why, is because I tried to marathon the trilogy and I only managed 2 of them because I got burnt out, which is unfortunate. But I need to know how it ends, and I need to know why it affected the characters. More so in Crooked Kingdom than it did in Six of Crows, but there's definitely an overlap. You can tell certain characters are in it, and it's really interesting, and I just want to read all of it so I can read King of Scars, which is also on the list because I need to read it, but I can't read it until I've read Roughen Rising, which just it's an incredible book, and it's got the biggest map in, and I'm really looking forward to learning all about every place on this map. I love Lee Bardugou's writing, so I'm really excited to get caught up and get the next book in this. I think it's the duology, the Nikolai duology, because we love Nikolai. We love Nikolai. He's wonderful. And then I can read Language of Thorns, which is not on this list, but also Language of Thorns. Flaunt? Yes, that works. Penultimately, which I should have read. I've had this for 2 years, and I've been trying to read it for 2 years, and it's just, I need to stick at it. It's not that I'm not enjoying it, it's that there's hundreds of other books that I want to read, and this is quite an interesting book. It is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Now, this year I read Aurora Rising, because Aurora Rising is the sequel. Aurora Rising by them, which is a different, it's not like this at all, and genuinely loved it. So I really need to give this one a chance. I need to read it, and it's not even that hard to read. It's like, it's a multimedia style book it's told in interviews, it's told in diagrams, it's told in very little words. There are words on the page, very, very little words. Then you've got a file, which is the surveillance footage summary. Not for civilian review, which is a list of the casualties. The interviews at the beginning. This is the Alexander dossier, this is the file that almost killed the leader of the Illuminate group. And on the bottom of this page is a quote that's always stuck with me. In the time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. It's a quote by Orban. I love that quote. But yes, it's got ship's diagrams, their version of a Wikipedia page. It's just such an interesting concept, and you can sort of see where, like, the colours of the pages, and you can tell that it's something new, and it's just, it's such an interesting story, and from what I've got from it at the moment, I just need to devote the time to reading it. With most of the ones that I've already started reading and given up on, I just need to sit down and read them, and then, it'll be done. And the last book on my list is Flame in the Mist, another book which I've started. I'm on, chapter 2 of this? I'm on page 6, and I just keep putting it down, and it's such a beautiful book. It's got such a beautiful cover. It's inspired by Mulan, and I just need to do it. So what I'm doing with this video, and the aim of this video, is that I'll keep the list of paper, the piece of paper that I've got, which is all the books written down on that I intend to read. There's a lot of them, obviously. And at the end of 2020, sit down and say, have I read them? And hopefully how many of them made it onto my favourites list and things like that. So this is really me just trying to hold myself accountable for things and be more organised. When I say holding myself accountable, it's because I feel like I say I want to read all these things and I never do, so I want to have that kind of, I need to do it. So getting more organised next year, reading more things, just hopefully finding, was it 32 or something? Hang on. Yeah, 32 books, and hopefully my top books of 2020 will have a good few of them on. So yeah, thank you for watching. I know it's been a really long and probably very boring video. Sorry my cats are annoying. I will do a cat video at some point if I can work out how to do it, and when they're like sort of just chilling and I can just go, okay, I'm going to film them and talk about them and, you know, all that stuff. So that's the plan. Going forward there will be more videos, more regularly. Hello kitten, which kitten are you? Hello. That'll be Siri. Oh, Siri. Anyway, so the plan is more videos, more streams, more reading, and more organisation. So thank you for watching. If you've watched all this way, thank you. You must either really care about books or just really bored. Anyway, thank you for watching. Say that already. Have a great day. Hope you've had a wonderful festive season or whatever it is you're doing, celebrating. So yeah. And my outro will always, until it happens, #they're classy. One day I might explain that. Probably won't. It's a bit weird, but